Everyone. We all know making games are hard, but releasing games are even harder. And today we have a panel who have released their games on different platforms within last 1 year. So let's start with the introduction. So tell us a bit about yourself and the game you guys have released. So we'll start with Neeraj.
Hi, I'm Neeraj, the founder and lead developer of Silvine Game Studios. So this is my second stint into the indie space. Previously, I had bootstrapped Ogret Studio, where I was a partner and co-founder. Uh, Fast forward to 2020, that's when we started Silvine Game Studios, and we released our debut game in August of this year. It was called Artifice War Tactics. It's a turn-based strategy roguelike game, and yeah, that's about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Mala. I'm the art director of Niku Games, and we just released our first game in June. It's called The Palace on the Hill. It's about this teenager in an Indian village who dreams of going to art school.
Hi all, I'm Prateek. I am running a studio called Destroy Dogo, and I released a game called Brokula on Xbox and Steam few months ago. And we are working on another game, Bauer's Cozy Laundromat, which is going to come out next year.
Hey everyone, this is Shubham from Mad Mantra. We released a game called Kamla a few months back. It's a horror game for PC, and we released it on Steam. It has been doing quite well, and that's why I'm here to talk about it.
Yeah, I would like to start with Shubham. That how did you come up with the idea of this particular game and what made you choose this particular specific genre?
So I was looking for something that would be a good marketable idea, and I was looking for hooks that could be built in less amount of money. And because I was trying to target India as a niche audience, I was trying to see what I could use in a horror game. And ideas were like a bride, like a chudel, classic Kamwali Bai that is possessed, and we just landed on chudel. That's kind of how I came up with the idea, and then we knew it's a horror game because we're trying to we're trying to create a game that extracts reactions from players for it to be very suitable for YouTube.
Got it. That's great. Prateek, what about you? How did you come up with the idea?
So I moved to Hyderabad back in 2019, and at that time, I just didn't have anything else to do other than like being free and watching Netflix. So at that time, Castlevania was running, and I was also learning pixel art. So at one point of time, I was like, okay, let's design what a vampire looks like in pixel art. Somehow, I liked that vampire design, and I started thinking, okay, I'm bored here. I'm all alone here. What would a vampire do if they are bored and they have nothing else to do? Uh, and then somehow that idea escalated into like a poor vampire. What would happen if they are broke? Like vampires are usually rich. So it kind of became like a comedic idea, as in like, okay, let's convert this into a poor vampire who's trying to survive in the market, doing odd jobs. And I posted that idea on Reddit, and people loved it. I was like, okay, let's go ahead with this.
Great. Mala?
I guess the idea for Palace on the Hill came when we were traveling in Rajasthan, and we went to this fort called Kumbhalgarh Fort. So from Kumbhalgarh Fort, it's like on a hill, and from there you can see like many hills around, like the Aravalli range, and there are like tiny mysterious ruins on each hill, and from that you can see down into the valley there was the serene picturesque village. So we thought that like what a perfect setting for an adventure game. When people think of India, they think of like gullies, they think of crowded slums, and they think of like festivals like Holi, which is all chaotic and colorful, and they think of auto rickshaws. So I thought, why not show a different side of India, which is serene villages, ancient stories with like kings, and yeah, something calm and meditative.
Neeraj?
Yeah, so our idea was mostly inspiration from movies like Lord of the Rings and games like Warcraft 3. We were heavily inspired by those movies and games that we've been playing. That was from the narrative standpoint or from the art style point of view, but the gameplay was mostly from games like XCOM or Into the Breach, where we wanted to focus more on the gameplay aspects of it. So we designed our hook or the mechanics based on those.
Great. So we all know that Steam page, when when you're making a game and when you're going to release a game, you have to put your Steam page up. And sometimes developers have this doubt when to put their page up and what is the right time to make the page, make the most out of it. So when do you think is the right time to launch your Steam page and how to prepare for that?
So I'll try to give a brief answer to that. Like it's a very big topic to cover. So in general, your game should be visually complete, as in there should be good visual art style to showcase. A trailer is a very good plus, and a demo as well. So this is the bare minimum to start off, and obviously even before you can get to the Steam page, one of the most important marketing decisions that you'll ever take is what game are you making and what genre. If you get that right, Steam will help you eventually. So you have to make sure, try to get it as possible as possible, because that is going to have a cascading impact down the line. So I'll keep it brief. Start as early as possible, but go with as much content as possible.
And Mala, when did your game's Steam page went live?
I would agree with you on that for sure. But our Steam page went live pretty early on in the development when we had most of the art style ready. But we did do a lot of changes in between based on the feedback we've got. So in the beginning, when the game wasn't gaining much traction, we thought there's no harm in changing the title image. There's no harm in changing the wording and see what happens. So just like in mobile games, people do like a soft launch. I feel like it's useful for people who are just starting making games to try it out and don't be afraid of changing. So in the beginning, our description of the Palace on the Hill is like a cozy game about poverty. So we thought that would be a nice way to describe the game, but it didn't really give the right vibe to people. So we changed the wording a little bit, and we made it more about like the fun stuff that you do in an Indian village, and that helped our the visibility of the game. So yeah, so don't be afraid of iterating on your Steam page when you see fit.
Yeah, like as you two said, like Brokula's store page went live within like 6 months of the development cycle. It had broken images, it had like broken maps basically, and people were still like interested in the game. There was not a lot of wish lists, of course. Like the purpose of store page is to bring in wish lists, but my purpose was to just only show the idea, let the word out, and that's why I posted like as soon as possible. Of course, like there were many iterations where I went in, like changed the capsule images, changed the description, added GIFs to the store page, added screenshots. At that, like in the beginning, we didn't have any sort of cinematic trailer either. That came out like in 2022 and December, something like that. But yeah, that's.
I have one more question just related to that. As you said, you didn't even had the trailer at the time when you made your your page live. The people are afraid that if they don't have a finished game or a finished product, would that impact their wish list or something? What are your thoughts about it?
From a developer's perspective, it does not make sense at all, right? Like in the beginning, people know, your players know that if a store page is coming out, it's going to take some time before it gets finished. It's just that they want to stay ahead of other people in terms of news. They want to wishlist the game if they are interested in a concept, but they are also very forgiving if something doesn't have a trailer.
Okay. And how was your experience, Shubham?
Yeah, so before we started developing the game, I was researching a lot on Steam about other games in the same genre that were coming out. And I saw a lot of games that were in very early stages of development, but they had the Steam page live. And one thing I noticed is that the velocity of wishlist differs a lot when the quality of the Steam page is higher, right? So you definitely want to have a Steam page early, but it has to have a certain level of quality. So for Kamla, because we knew that it will take at least few months to get some assets ready and make the game look really good or play really good, we actually made a lot of Unreal concept screenshots. The game was actually made in Unity, right? But we made Unreal sets, different scenes. We kind of knew how the game would look like, and we just faked kind of a lot of screenshots to have a good quality of velocity when we start marketing the game on Reddit, Twitter, anywhere, you know. So I think it differs a lot also on what the scale of the project is, what your budget is. If you think you can wait until the Steam page is live because you have some kind of marketing strategy, marketing budget, then maybe it makes more sense to market it later with a really good Steam page. But if you have a tight budget already, maybe put it out early and just make it as good as you can.
Great. Some great points. So wishlist seems to be the magic number over here. So how early did you start focusing on building your wishlist, and what actually worked for you, Shubham?
So again, I think when it comes to Steam, you have to look at a lot of other games. Go to VG Insights, go to Game Analytics. Try to target a revenue bracket. So what I mean by that is, if you go to VG Insights or Game Analytics, you can sort by revenue of how much a game has earned. And if you just do 200K to 300K, you understand the quality of that bracket and try to reach that bracket's quality visually in your screenshots. It's fine if you fake it a little bit, fake the lighting a little bit before you achieve things in the actual way, because we are indies, right? You have to do this. You don't have any money to market it in a very big scale. So I think it's important to just match the quality bracket and at least offer potential quality. People are not stupid on Steam, right? They pay money. So they believe that this is marketing a lot right now, this is looking great, but it might not be that great later, but at least they're willing to give you a chance. So take that chance.
Great. Prateek?
Talking about the wishlist numbers, like the magic numbers, I know that 7,000 is like that number. Without having 7,000 wishlists, you should not even be thinking of launching a game. It took like a lot of time for Brocula to reach there, because as I said, like I was just putting out broken images, broken map images, a trailer, no trailer as a part of the store page. So it did take a lot of time. But once it had cinematic trailer, you can see like the way Shubham described, like the quality of images. It does have like a huge impact on your wish list. It starts increasing significantly. People start associating those trailer images with the quality of the game. And I don't think I've had a chance to fake anything in that. I just realized one thing by posting in the communities that people do not like darker images as a part of the of any of the screenshots. They want them to be bright and shiny.
Yeah. Great point. Mala?
I think the best thing that worked for us is participating in fests which had like a Steam featuring. So each fest like brought in like bunch of wish lists. So that is the only way, because otherwise just doing it yourself, there is not much conversion. Even if you get like very popular on Twitter or other websites like Reddit, we didn't see that much conversion to wish lists on Steam. So make sure that you participate in events which has a Steam featuring, because that's where everyone is.
Yeah, like Mala said, I think for us also it was a lot of Steam festivals, not just Steam. You have Wholesome Festival and Turn-Based Carnival. So a lot of festivals kind of brought in a lot of wish lists. So, and yeah, Steam is purely an algorithm machine. So if the wish lists come, the velocity of it will eventually rise. So participate in as many festivals as possible.
Okay. So wishlist conversions can be a lot tricky. Did your numbers line up with what you expected, or were there any surprises?
So yeah, there were a lot of surprises. We did our early access launch back in November of last year. We did a 1.0 launch August of this year, and the wish lists were all over the place. But yeah, it's very difficult to predict of how things will go. Like I said, going back to the previous point that I made, your game concept is very essential. So executing is definitely a challenge, but if you are fundamentally wrong, it will have a big impact. So yeah, that's where I think a lot of learnings from me as well. So yeah, not talking about the point, the conversions were not up to the mark.
Okay.
I think for us the conversions were very expected. Big reason for that is like we didn't have any bugs or anything on launch day, so make sure that you even there are some games which I've heard had really great wishlist numbers like 60,000, but finally the sales was like very low compared to that, and that is because on the first day there were a lot of reviews which were mixed. So make sure that everything goes really well with your game. If you're lucky enough to have like a great number of wish lists, you'll get like great number of sales also. And also I do feel like asking people for wish lists or putting ads might get you a lot of wish lists which don't really convert.
Yeah, for Brokila, it was like a weird experience, just like how Neeraj had. Wishlist never like is not like a 100% conversion rate for sales. Brokila did see like a lot of wish lists, 35K on launch, and even now it has around 42 remaining. Um, like it keeps on increasing, but it never translates to that sale figure. One of the main reasons why it did not convert at Brokila's end was day one bugs. Like I was a solo dev on that, and I did not do any sort of playtesting associated with UI, with like a lot of things, and people just kept on messaging me, "Hey, this thing does not work. Why is Brokila not moving? Am I in a soft lock?" So all that thing like led to a little bit of negative reviews here and there, and a word of mouth is like a huge thing in cozy game community. So that does kind of uh, degraded the wish list to conversion rate kind of a figure.
So a lot of genres highly depend on wish lists, but I think there can be a slightly different exception for horror games. Uh, we knew that we didn't want to rely too much on wish lists. I was obviously marketing the game a lot, sharing it everywhere, trying to collect a lot of wish lists. So we had like about 2,000 wish lists before launch, which is a really low number. But our whole idea was not to rely on wish lists, but rely on an initial boost and a snowball effect on YouTube, because I wanted YouTube to be my funnel for sales. So the conversion doesn't really necessarily make sense for our game, because even though we had 2,000 wish lists, we actually sold few thousand copies more than wish lists, because all of our copies are coming from YouTube actually. So it was slightly different. But I would definitely say if you have a good amount of wish lists, make sure you convert them right away with a good discount. It's very important. And price the games. So it depends. If the game in the same genre that is doing really well, if it's on a high price point, if it's say let's $30, then you as an indie developer should actually price it less than that. But if it's a genre that is selling their game for $5, maybe you can do 6 or 7. So I think it also changes on the price point. Have a good discount. Figure out where your wish lists are from, so you can also understand based on regional pricing how much can actually convert.
So Neeraj, you spoke about Steam festivals and how it helped you to gain wish lists. What do you think would be the best time to participate in these festivals? Generally, people have this doubt ki if you should participate 6 months before, whether you should put a demo or without a demo. So how has your experience been?
First, I would say start with the Steam Next Fest. That's a really great festival, but you should have a demo. It's suicidal without a demo, because Steam Next Fest will give you probably the largest traffic. There are other festivals as well, but that's your Steam dedicated festival for demos. So you should have a demo. A cinematic trailer may not be possible, but at least a gameplay trailer should be there, along with really good screenshots and all the write-ups. So that's the checklist: demo, trailer, and screenshots.
Yeah, I think as you said, Steam Next Fest is really good, but I would reserve that for like the last. It happens quite a number of times per year, like what, 3 times, 2, 4 times. So you can really time it close to the launch of your game. Previous to that, start applying for festivals as early as you can. Even in the beginning, if you get rejections, if you apply the next year, they might remember you and see how much your game is progress and take you the next time. And it really gives you it's really good to give a lot of time for people to start discovering your game. even though people do say if you start collecting wish lists really early on, those wish lists from the beginning are not very useful. But since we are small indies who are making our first game, I think visibility is more important, and that might lead to great wish lists later on and closer to your launch.
Oh, sorry. I think with Brocula totally had like a thing with festivals. First, it got picked up by some influencer back in January, and then Farming Fest happened, uh, which brought in like 7,000 wishlists in just like less than a week. But talking about Steam Fest, when I started participating in festivals, at that time there was not a limit on how many times you can submit a game for Steam Fest. Now it's only one game per lifetime. At the time, I was submitting the game for Steam Fest every quarter, and I was getting like 1 to 2,000 wishlists every quarter, like because of the Steam Fest. And at one point, they were like, "You know what? We are not gonna let you do that." So earlier, I was planning like before the launch that we're gonna have Farming Fest, then the Steam Fest, and then the launch date. And because of not being able to participate in the last Steam Fest, it did decrease the velocity that I was looking for. Uh, and I had to like change the release date to the end of Farming Fest. The thing about festivals is that if you have a release date right after the festival, it starts showing you in the popular upcoming section on that festival page. There's like extra free marketing from Steam. Yeah, I found it with working on Brocula, and I'm using it for the next game.
Great.
Yeah, even for Kamla, we did have a demo, but it was very, very late. We released our demo actually 1 week before the actual game released. So we had not planned our demo before, and we were like, we probably can't fit a demo in this game. It's really small. We don't know how to make a demo out of this. But eventually, I thought, you know what? Let's just try it out. Let's make a small demo, and we made a demo that was slightly different from the game, and we just introduced Kamla in it. But I think that is a good way to check if the hook works, if people give a shit about your idea, basically. And I think demos will also help you, like Prateek said. Events, a lot of wish list, great velocity, verify your idea. And when your game is in festivals, it has a better chance to be picked up by streamers. So why not?
Yeah. And did you also participate in Steam Next Fest? And was it only once, or were you able to optimize it like how Prateek did?
I did not participate in even one, right? Okay. We made really last minute demo, and we just put it out just to start a snowball early before the release, because I wanted people to pay right after the release.
Okay. Prateek, I have a question related to the other festivals. How do you take part in these festivals?
It's the same as a Steam Next Fest. You just get an earlier notification from Steam itself. Like nowadays, when you log into your dashboard, you start seeing all the festivals lined up. They have already given you a list of festivals that are coming for the next year. So if you're planning for a release in the coming year, you can actually plan it out and write the velocity.
There's also this Excel sheet like thing floating around on the internet, which gives you a list of all the festivals and what's the last date for application and how useful it is, all of that stuff. You can also find out more about these festivals. Sometimes they don't really announce until like later in the year whether they're going to have the festival at all. So join their Discord and keep a track of when they announce the applications.
Just to add on that, like she mentioned, there's a server called How to Market Your Game. So they have festival updates along with the Excel sheet, like she mentioned. So it's better to apply and participate in those festivals because it's extra coverage. We want as much as coverage as possible.
Okay. So let's move on to pre-launch phase. We all have this must-do list before the pre-launch. What would you say would be the most important top things to do in that list just before the pre-launch?
So festivals like we previously discussed, you should have done multiple festivals. One would be the Steam Next Fest and followed by, in our case, Turn-Based Carnival and a bunch of other Steam like turn-based festivals. Apart from that, the pre-launch phase should have you sending keys to the influencers or media outlets who will cover the game, either reviewing or just talking about its announcement. That's the basic gist of it.
Mala, what were your must-do list before the pre-launch?
I would say the same things that you said, but we focused a lot on playing the game again and again and again and again, and getting all our friends to play again and again and again, so that there's not like any problems with that. Like that.
Testing your game a lot before the launch.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah. I mean, make sure that you have like a Discord community where you will get like a lot of people to test the game for free.
Mine were like totally different from what you guys said. Mine was targeted towards localization. I just wanted people to come from all over the world and not leave my Steam store page. So I was spending money on getting the page translated to all the different languages that were possible. I was also making sure that the tags are correct, or if you have Steam achievements, or making sure that cloud saves were working fine. I was also doing a simultaneous launch on Xbox, so I was making sure that stuff is working there as well correctly.
So you optimized your page a lot, did a
Yes.
lot of SEO or tags.
Yeah, I literally had SEO tag on my store page, and I was looking at the graphs on my Google Analytics all the time. I was also looking at where the traffic was coming from on my store page. So on the dashboard, it would tell you, okay, which countries the traffic is coming from, how many times people are clicking on an image, on a capsule image. And I also like was going all over the internet telling people like, hey, roast my store page. And they were telling what was wrong with it.
Shubham, what was your must-do list before before you hit the release button?
Yeah, so because, like I said, our plan was everything around YouTube. So I was trying to make sure that strategy is prepared. In the last month before we released the game, we made lists of YouTubers, 300 YouTubers, 300 Instagram people, a lot of Twitter people, and we're trying to target people with small set of followers because it's easy to reach out to them, and they were good enough for us to start a snowball. So we were just making a list, making sure they get a key early, a week before the game. And also we're making sure that the game doesn't break right after the release. So a lot of testing, small tweaks to make something even scarier, something even funnier, something even more fucked up, stuff like that. So, yeah.
So your whole marketing plan was to reach out to YouTubers and streamers pre-launch. How did you contacted them and how was their response?
Yeah, so you generally don't want to target big streamers because if you're reaching out to them, a lot of them don't know how game dev works, so they'll ask you for crazy amounts of money, probably more than how much it took you to make the game. So what you want to do is get to the big ones indirectly, and the way you do that is make sure your hooks work, and people like to watch your game. So what you do is you reach out to people with 10,000 subs, 50,000 subs, and they will play your game for free with just for a key. And if you reach out to enough of them and you tell them ki, why this is when I'm releasing my game, and I would love it if you release your video around that time, all of them will start a snowball together. And if people really love to watch it, which is what happened with Kamla, so the average viewer would watch Kamla 2.5. So if someone is getting 1 million views, playing Kamla would get them 2.5 million views, basically. So the snowball was very organic. So people didn't have, like big YouTubers didn't have a choice but to play it because the players were really eager to watch it. And that's kind of what we're dependent on. That's, again, going back to the wishlist point. It was important for us to start a snowball organically with wishlist as well, but it was more about YouTube for us. So it's slightly different.
Great. Prateek, I have a question for you. How important is localization? And did you consider doing it pre-launch or post-launch? And what was its impact?
It was all pre-launch. I think if I was planning to launch the game in Feb, which got delayed till March, or June, it got delayed till June, sorry. I ended up doing localization in November itself, like of last year. So that started attracting audiences from different countries. You need to make sure that people who just speak Japanese, they're not even gonna look at your store page if they can't understand it. They're not even going to click on it, click on the capsule image. So you need to make sure that they have some sort of a way to read what you have written to keep them on the store page and click on that wishlist button.
Mala, since your game was Indian themed, did you also consider localizing your game?
Yeah, we did have a few languages. We had English, we had German, we had Indonesian because we had Indonesian mainly because with our mobile launch we saw a lot of players coming from Indonesia, so we localized to Indonesian. But we didn't have, and we had Hindi and Bengali, and we had Swedish. So basically these languages we chose because Swedish, like we have a relative who's Swedish, so that's why. And we had some contacts who connected us with someone who was willing to translate in German, and we had Discord, our Discord community who helped us with Bengali, and then so we chose our languages like that, which was possible for us. And we thought that since we're a small team with a limited budget, it's not necessary, I mean it's not feasible even or sustainable for us to localize on launch day, because if you have to get it professionally done, depending on your word count, it could cost like $5,000 minimum for each language, so that's huge. So we thought that as we start earning money, we can see where the traffic is from. If we wanted to localize to Japanese, we were going to plan it with going for a Japanese event like Bit Summit, and then promote the game in Japanese at that time. So every time we localize to a new language, we were planning to have like a little marketing beat along with it. Otherwise, we did not see it possibility of localizing to many languages at once.
So no localization for Artifice. So we were just waiting for any growth and then probably invest in localization.
So Neeraj, what was the launch day look like for you? And how was it?
So we had 2 launch days because it was early access and 1.0. So early access was a little bit chaotic because last minute bug fixing, actually not last minute bug fixing, but we were super nervous play testing the game. Even though there were some bugs reported, we put them in the backlog if they were not high priority. But that being said, our game was mostly stable during both the launches. So it was kind of smooth sailing in the technical front, but in the design front, we were getting a lot of feedback of what works, what doesn't work. So yeah, that way it was a little bit chaotic.
And how was your launch day like?
We actually launched our game as a surprise release with Wholesome Games, so that we would get featured by the Wholesome Direct. So it was really good to be featured by Wholesome Direct. That helped us a lot in getting sales and getting a lot of views and people coming in on the launch day.
Great.
I forgot to click on the release button on the day of release, so I started getting pings from people, my friends, like, "Hey, Prateek, I'm unable to access the game. What's happening?" And then I ended up releasing like 2 hours later.
I remember that. I think we messaged you also.
Yeah, I think at launch, stories are mostly similar with most of the indie game devs. Something just gets broken, and I think same happened with Kamala as well. We had this one bug where in the game you have to pick 6 items behind every puzzle, right? And there was this weird bug where you couldn't pick up the last item. So everyone did everything perfect, and they had to restart the game for no reason, which was really annoying for a lot of people. And small bugs like that came up, and we just patched them right away. We spent all-nighters after release just to patch everything up, to make sure that every other YouTuber that picks it up doesn't feel like, okay, this game is just trash. So I feel like you just want to make sure that any bugs that come up, you fix them right away. And try to reply to most of the people that are reaching out to you. A lot of them might be of some help. It might be some YouTuber trying to get a key on stuff like that.
Prateek, what was the biggest challenge you faced after launching your game on Steam? Was it dealing with bugs, reviews, or something else entirely?
Excuse me. I mean, bug fixes were a bigger problem. Oh, sorry, something stuck in my throat.
You want to continue? What was your biggest challenge after release?
My biggest challenge after release was making sure that everyone is happy, because most of my audience is Indian and they're using integrated graphic cards. And my problem was optimization. So even though we had optimized the game to a level where it was running fine on a 1050, we had to optimize even more. And people kept coming up. Kids were calling us that, hey, it doesn't work on our PC, please optimize it even more. So we spent a lot of time and doing a lot of random tweaks to sacrifice things in the game just to make a kid happy. Because we felt like right now these are the kids that are going to grow up and they're going to remember the game and they will support us later. So I think it's just supporting the game as much as you can. And it can be tough because you just released your game and you probably have a lot of other things to do around marketing if it's a small team. But yeah, sit down with your team and just patch things right away before it becomes like a big topic about how things are broken in the game.
Great.
Yes, I'm much
Are
better
you
now.
okay,
Thank you.
Prateek?
So yeah, my first day went with a lot of bug fixes. Something wasn't working. Some people were facing soft locks. So I was just like pushing builds after builds after builds. In a matter of 1 week,
Are you
I
pushing builds without testing?
yes, I think one of the testers in the room as well. Not a tester, like a person who bought the game. Um, so I pushed a bug fix and it broke something else. And I get a ping from him like, "Hey, I can't play this anymore." So in a matter of 1 week, I pushed out 22 builds, and that ended up creating a lot more bugs in terms of performance, soft locks. So yeah, don't do that.
Mala, I have a different question for you. What was your biggest learning from all this? Now that you have got one Steam launch under your belt, are you working on any updates or the new game?
I would say like the biggest learning is it really depends on your concept of the game. I think the concept, you might make a really great game, but if it doesn't have a very easy to understand concept or like a hook, you're going to have a tough time marketing that game or convincing people to even try it. That's my biggest learning. So for the next game, I sure will be thinking about that a lot more. What is the second question?
Are you working on updates or the new game?
Yeah, so we definitely feel like a lot of our audience is the Indian audience, and many of them are on mobile. So we want to make the game for the mobile next. I think it's a great platform for a game like ours.
Great. Neeraj, what were your biggest learnings?
So with Artifice, we kind of try to overly innovate on things, which kind of backfired royally. And we pivoted in Feb of this year, just before our final launch. And that being said, that is one of the biggest learnings, that stick to the genre tropes, innovate obviously, but do not overly try to do things. It may not always work out. So that's the main learning, and we are working on a new game right now. So hopefully we'll reveal something soon.
Shubham?
Yeah, like Mala said, our audience is also mostly Indian audience, and a lot of them don't even have a PC. So right now we are working on the mobile port for Kamla, and after that we're gonna do some console launches. But for the studio, the next step would be making a bigger, better horror game, to put it simply, with a bit more global relevancy factor in the design.
Prateek?
So yeah, I'm not leaving the cozy market yet. So I started working on another game called Baba's Cozy Laundromat 3 months ago. Um, with all the things that we are talking about, with all the lessons learned, I already applied it in my new game, and the new game got picked up by Wholesome Games already, like a few times. So I'm just happy for that.
Okay. Moving on to the last question. If you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice before launching, what would it be? Anyone?
So define a scope and stick to it. That is the biggest advice that I can tell. And start small. It's okay to fail, and failure is a part of it. Stay optimistic. Keep building games. You'll eventually get it right.
I think for me it would be like when you are looking at some game and you be like, oh wow, this game is successful. If I make a game like that, can also be successful. So I feel like that sometimes when we do that, we don't really understand the context in which that game was successful, and what works for someone else may not work for you. So it's very important to think about it very analytically and not and even though it's good to be hopeful, I would think like don't rely only on hopefulness. Uh, be like very clear on when you make your decisions, like why are you doing this.
I feel like playtesting is an important lesson that I learned from my old game and which I'm following in my new game. So I'm just randomly sending people the keys of the game, and there's a difference between how a tester plays the game versus how a person who's willing to buy your game will play the game. So right now I'm just like sending out keys to random people. They play the game. They suggest me something. Okay, this is what is missing, and I improve on top of that, and that has helped my playtesters a lot. With the feel of the game as well. Even they realize, okay, this has become like a better game.
Yeah, I think for us, what the one thing I could have definitely done better is localize early. So we do have Kamala localized in 12 languages, but we did it over time, slowly. But seeing that it got popular as soon as after the release, it could have been very beneficial for us to market it outside India as well, and kind of take some of the audience there. It did work in a lot of course, English regions, but we had a good amount of sales from Germany, France, and all those countries. And I think if I had localized there early, it could have definitely helped. I also think that there are a lot of non-game dev things about game dev, like grants and stuff that I didn't look into at all, and I missed out on I think most of them. So if I had maybe paid more attention there, I could have made something even bigger, So I think that is one thing I definitely just missed out on completely.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I feel like it's really important to keep costs as low as you can, because it's unpredictable that when you launch, whether you'll be able to recoup what you have spent. So keep costs low and try to apply to grants and try to make up some of the money before launch.
Great, guys. Those were some great insights. Thank you for agreeing to be part of the panel. It was filled with full of knowledge and insight, which would be really helpful for people. So now we are open for questions. Anyone?
Yeah. Hi, thanks to everyone on the panel. It was like each game is like a really good case study on how to deal with and how not to deal with Steam, I guess. So my question is regarding wish lists. Again, you all mentioned different things. One thing that really caught my attention was the quality of wish lists. I think Mala, you mentioned that. Like, would you suggest not advertising it on a wide scale to maintain the quality of the wish lists, or is it okay to advertise and take a chance with random people coming in who are not really interested? Like, will that make a big difference?
I feel like with advertisement, it's really difficult to figure out who are you going to advertise to. So you have to have a very good grasp on who's your audience, and maybe if you advertise to them, it could definitely be helpful. But I do feel like organic wish lists are way more better.
I asked in the sense of like, I mean, good quality wish lists will convert, which is the end goal, of course. But is there any benefit of having like a bigger wish list before launch? Does that help with the trending section or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, but I do feel like Steam, even though like wishlist is a big factor for Steam, it's actually sales which is the bigger factor. So if you have big number of wishlists, a percentage of that will convert. So that percentage which converts and leads to sales is actually what will help you to come in the what is the other one? New and trending, or yeah, I think so. There's another one after that, right? Yeah, popular upcoming, then new and trending. Yeah, so after, at the time of launch, there's like an even better list, which is, yeah, so sales are important. So if Steam sees that you're not getting enough, like the actual number of sales is not like a threshold, then you will not benefit that much. So yeah, as far as possible, try to target your advertising and your marketing to the right people.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. So each of you have worked on your own games at different levels. You know, the number of people on the team, all the way to the budget. And so what I wanted to know was from the ideation process, all the way till date, what has been like each of yours biggest issues, and if you could elaborate a little on how you overcome it. Because as indie developers, the team is either a one-man army or a very small team, and they have their own experiences. So I wanted to know you know?
I think for us, one of the biggest issues is visibility. And even though we solved a lot of that by coming into events like very sought after events like wholesome games and tiny teams and things like that, it's still the concept of the game was such that there wasn't a very clear like genre or hook. So yeah, getting people to play and try it out was a big challenge for us.
I suck at marketing. So all the game devs here have this issue of like talking with people about their own game. They don't want to go out of their way to market their game or put ads around it. I would say stop everything for like a few weeks, understand how market is running in terms of. Oh, I've been told to stop. Sorry. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we can continue outside.